11:59 at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Hey, welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live each weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for about an hour. This is a panel discussion, or it's evolved into a panel discussion. We're 791 episodes into this daily show. A couple of things we try to do each week. On Mondays, we talk about behind the scenes. We talk about the nuts and bolts of creating content, especially firearms-related content. But we want people to be encouraged and to be experienced with the type of tools and the software and the places to put your content of whatever subject, because that's really the goal, is to share the experience of a firearms owner with the world and with time. Really, when we put things on the internet, remember, they're going to be there forever. So to share our experience, what it's like, in the 2019 to be a firearms owner. It's not a given. Nobody owes us anything. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance, and this is one way that we can have some fun while we share and we collaborate. And one of the things we do on Mondays on this show is talk about that kind of stuff. So we have different themes throughout the week. We'll talk about those each day, but we want to thank everybody for joining us. We do. Oh, you know what? I'm unlisted, so I'm going to go in here and actually list the show so that there can be an audience, because right now I don't think there's any audience. All right, so that's annoying. So we've got people joining us from all over the country, and I'm talking to nobody, but I guess for the future, people will be able to. How come it won't save now? Because we're live? Oh, I have to click done over here because of the crappy new YouTube interface. Now we're live, so we'll start to get some audience. So for the people that are listening to this in the future, perhaps, I was talking and typing at the same time, so it kind of didn't go anywhere. But we're panel discussion. We got people joining us from all over the country. We got Dead Horse joining us from Utah. Thanks for joining.
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And then Ghost jumping in from Arkansas. How's it going?
Hey, G. Thanks for having me, buddy.
You bet. Obnoxious and Sarge are still in their vehicle. So it's Monday night. It's 10 o'clock here. I'm thinking on the East Coast, it's a little after midnight. And they've been driving since yesterday. Or no, you've been driving since this morning to get back to your neck of the woods from the world's largest gun show over in Tulsa. So we got both Obnoxious and Sarge on that line. Thanks for joining in, guys.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having us. Look, we are in Tennessee. We're going to be in North Carolina here in about 20 minutes, or maybe a little less. No, I'm sorry. We'll be back in North Carolina in about 10 minutes, so getting there.
Yep. Right on. Now, because we want the show to be special, is there any way you could pop a wheelie for the entire length of the show?
In my truck, it's going to be difficult, but I'll give it a shot.
If it's any easier, one of them deals where it's not really a wheelie, but you're on the two wheels on the same side, where you kind of go sideways.
That I can totally do.
Because I've seen videos of people basically getting out and having a picnic, doing that in the desert and stuff.
I'm doing it right now. Do I sound like I'm doing it?
Oh, yeah. It's not even bad wind noise, so that works out pretty good. You got a good phone. All right, so then we got Woods, who I don't know what kind of stunts he's doing, but he's up in the Washington area of the world.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for jumping in. So I'm down in Arizona, and we're going to talk about today humor, or winning the Second Amendment with humor. So we were chatting with somebody sometime talked about this on another show, and I thought, hey, that'd be neat to talk about it. So I posted it as a topic for today on the Nuts and Bolts show, so we can talk about I don't know where we want to take it. My dog is freaking out. We've got these giant horseflies for some reason. There's about 1 million of them in the house for some. Oh, it's because I got a giant hole in the roof. So there's this bunch of horseflies in here, and she can't get enough of them. They're like those kind of flies that are large enough when they land on something, they make a noise. Like their wings are so big, they they vibrate when they hit like a paper bag or something. They make like a noise. So I'm distracted because she's running all around, and I'm sure she's going to break something. Anyway, where do we want to take this one? Winning the Second Amendment with humor. let me start with this. I'll just go left to right to get us going as a palate cleanser. Is it possible? Yes or no? Dead horse?
No.
Ghost?
Yes.
Obnoxious?
I am completely humorless.
Then we go to Woods.
I fully think we can win some people over with humor. That's for sure.
All right, Sarge went in there. And then Woods.
Yes, but it depends on who you're talking to.
So we got a yes foot. We've got what was your answer then, Obnoxious? You said out. You don't understand what humor
He
is.
said no.
I am completely humorless.
I think
And
that's some dry humor.
So anyway, I think we've got Ghost, what did you say? Yes?
I said yeah.
So we've got 3 yeses and a no. I like to think I don't know if we're going to win it. I mean, technically the definition of win it with just humor, no. But can we make strides? Is it worth effort? I think yes. And I think we can make things more clear maybe with humor, but I don't want to talk about my things. Let's chat about it. So where do we want to take this one now that we kind of know where everybody's coming from? This is an interactive show, so of course we're ignoring the audience out there. But if you're listening and watching right now, what do you think? Can we save the Second Amendment? Can we keep the Second Amendment strong and alive with humor? And then anyway, in here, now that you guys know where everybody's at, what do you think?
I think that a lot of it comes down to is I'm a big proponent of trying to depict people in the gun lifestyle as just normal everyday people. They just happen to like carry guns or whatever. And I'm not saying we need to do funny skits and try to be ha ha ha, like laugh about everything funny, but I think that the less we can get away from the tactical and all of that, and actually, if you have a sense of humor, utilize your sense of humor, because all that's going to do is show that the people that either are anti or undecided, that we are normal people, we're not all operators, then I think that makes us more human. That's kind of where I was coming from.
I super agree with that. I think, like I said, it has to do with who you're talking to. If you're talking to somebody that you know pretty well or you're friends with that maybe is a non-gunner, maybe not an anti-gunner, you can get away with a lot more humor. But if you don't know them very well, you could easily come across as very glib, like you don't really care.
Most great comedians are somewhat offensive, and they talk about taboo subjects, and they bring taboo subjects and materials into their comedy, and people get offended over just the littlest thing. So I can't even imagine nowadays a comedian doing like an on stage skit about guns and trying to be funny, and how many people he's going to offend, and shootings, and oh dude, like nah, like not nowadays. Like maybe 20 years ago or something, I would say yes, but nowadays you can't. You have to be so PC, and you have to think about what every little thing you say and stuff. Like the humor doesn't even exist anymore.
I can agree with that as far as utilizing the gun for comedy, but humor I don't take as comedy. I take humor as having a good sense of humor. Obviously, I'm never going to make jokes or try to make humor out of safety, but I think if your personality is you're a funny person and you're able to pull off a funny conversation that includes guns, I don't think that comedy is the same thing as using humor. But I do agree with what you're saying. If you're using it as comedy, then yes, it's probably going to backfire on you.
Yeah, I agree with you. Humor and comedy are kind of different things. You don't have to channel Richard Pryor or anything.
I know, but it doesn't have to be comedy. So let's just say I'm talking to some anti-gunner and I'm trying to lighten the subject mood, and I make a joke about something. I mean, God, like nowadays, like seriously, look how offended people get. Like every day, some actor or comedian or just regular person is making a public apology for for a joke they made on their Twitter. They're not even a comedian; they're an actor, right? And
Right.
that's happening every single day. So I can't even imagine like really trying to bring humor to an anti-gun person. No, humor between gun guys is like that's okay. But when you're trying to like convince an anti-gun person, like no, guns are good. Now let me bring some jokes into this. I no, I don't think that's no, I don't think that's going to
I,
lead to
I
Hold
don't
on, hold
I don't
on.
disagree with that, but let me throw
Let
this
me
at you. Oh,
hold
I'm
on.
sorry. Go ahead, G.
I
Go
got
ahead.
in. I'm gonna play host in there in that interrupt. And let me ask, what kind of guns do bees use? Bumblebees. What kind of guns do bumblebees use? Anyone?
I don't know.
Anyone?
This ought to be good.
BB guns?
Oh, God.
Okay. Okay. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, and what I was going to
I'm
say
stealing
is
that.
But
I would agree with Dead Horse in that thing, but I don't think you have to make the humor about the gun. I don't think that the humor has to be about the gun. I think if you have a funny personality and you're just talking with an anti-gunner in general conversation and you come across as a funny, likable person, and then they find out that you're also a very diehard gun person, I think that the humor in your life could at least let them say, okay, this
Yeah,
guy is a gun guy and he's also funny, you know?
I'd agree with that. I would, as long as but I think at the second you start bringing in the guns or this 2A or anything like that and trying to bring that into the humor or joke stuff, you're gonna lose them, dude. Like because I mean, they're not gonna take you seriously. It doesn't matter how funny your joke was or if you
Yeah.
offend them with it or whatever.
well,
I think yeah, if you start like really mixing the two, like the jokes are about the guns or about a 2A or something, that you're just gonna lose them.
I think if you were, I mean, if you were knowledgeable and mixing in some humor, that would be fine, as long as it's lighthearted and positive humor, like that BB joke. That I mean, that's funny.
Is
You
that
break
me or
up.
is it him? Okay,
No, you
didn't know if
broke
that
up.
was me or not.
But I don't know where he was going, but I mean that was just a kid's joke more than anything. That wasn't much of I mean, I understand what Dead Horse is saying, that yeah, I don't think it's appropriate to be like
That's a cute joke.
go ahead.
Yeah, I would
With
agree. I
a
mean,
laugh.
Dead Horse has a good point about making the gun the joke. A lot of people are familiar with Johnny or gun drama Johnny, and he's humorous. And there are people that aren't gun people but find him funny, but he's not making the gun the joke. He's making the personalities within the community the joke. And for someone who's not a gun person that sees gun drama Johnny, they're like, oh, that guy's pretty funny. And they might start watching him and they realize he's talking about guns, but the guns aren't the joke necessarily, you know?
No,
And
I would agree with that 100%. And I look at just like our community, like products that have come out as a joke, and then I've seen them on the news, right? Like, oh my gosh, look what these guys are putting
Like
on the news.
the chainsaw thing underneath of the
Yeah,
gun. That was a
yeah.
joke, right?
Exactly. Or the banana clips or whatever. Those are hilarious.
Okay, but then we're sometimes parrying. The reason they put that on there is because it was like well the what a chainsaw thing, I guess, is because of the zombie thing, and it's like a gross exaggeration. But like the banana is because they call them banana clips, right? So it's
Right.
I guess they're inside jokes, but they're kind of is the word like household language already? Like people know what banana clips are, even if they're not gun people. But and it's just sort of funny because it's putting a banana in where whatever. Anyway, so I think that I understand what you're saying with humor, not being appropriate like in a conversation or whatever. But I guess I'm reiterating what the Ghost and others said, that just being funny, having humor makes you more relatable, right? But I was going to say, what about like the meme or the like cutting joke? Because humor is effective. It's a way of saying like, here's a thing I find wrong with your position, but I'm going to give it to you in a way that shows that I'm not trying to just be argumentative, or like I have a serious point, but I'm going to relate it in a way that is more palatable than just nagging or just complaining, right?
I think that lighthearted humor makes us more relatable to some people that like you said don't understand guns or think that we are different than what we are. You're kind of showing that you're a real person, and we can have some lighthearted jokes, but you got to know when to stop as well. But like you just said, the honey memes, they're funny. Some of this stuff is just funny, and it's okay to laugh at some of them.
So I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood the question originally, but like when I think about like humor to win the 2A, right? Automatically, my mind goes to like we're having a gun conversation about guns and about gun rights and 2A with some anti-gunner or something. Like that's where my mind went to with that question. My
And I agree with what you're from where your point of view was. I agree with what you were saying 100%.
Yeah, and that's why I leave it open. So that's what it's all about. So that it's not like, here's one thing we're going to talk about, so we can bring various things to it. But again, when we're having that just general conversation about facts or about, I don't know, bigger concepts than just maybe the specifics of an event that's, being exploited by the news right now at the moment or something, when we're having this discussion with an anti-gunner, right? It's usually instigated by some, exploitation by the mainstream media with their last grasp at people's attention, and they're trying to suggest that the country's so violent because look, we found another thing that happened, like some crazy guy did this thing and look what he used, right? And that's when we're trying to have these discussions, but it's all that stuff in the middle, all that stuff when it's not an engineered ambush discussion, when we get to influence society, influence people out there. And I don't know if humor is definitely not our only tool. I'm just thinking that was my aspect, my angle to it. So I'm just saying, I think there's, I agree with Ghost, right? When you're talking about what you're talking about, yeah, you don't want to just bring up, maybe, I was going to say you don't want to bring up a joke, but maybe there is a way to like come up with just a little humorous thing that maybe can cut the tension. Or if somebody's like, just, how some people, when they have a discussion with you, they're just, they're just going to start finding things that to disagree with you about. But if you can kind of bring it away and remind them, hey, we're both here rooting for the same thing, or we're both here with our kids playing soccer or something, like, this isn't really a political discussion, we're just chatting here. Maybe it's a way to cut the ice or break the ice, whatever, or like change the subject. Let me ask, since I'm got the mic, what do you call a gun that doesn't kill anyone, or anything, I should say? What do you call a gun that doesn't kill anything?
A gun?
No, a gun that doesn't kill anything, though.
A gun?
A V gun.
Oh God.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, so let me ask you this, G. How many hours today did you redo show prep for these jokes? Just saying.
Thanks to my Patreon supporters. That's between me and my Patreon.
I did like the BB gun one. That was actually pretty good.
That's a good example of lighthearted and fun. The BB gun one. That's, anybody can laugh at that. And if that breaks the ice, and maybe has them take down like a little bit of wall they put up between us and them, hey, then we're doing a little bit of good. And then maybe we can use that to kind of talk to them a little bit more openly.
Do we need to separate out the different audiences? Like an anti-gunner, the best plan is to use questions, but like a non-gunner that's just in the middle, maybe that's a better place to use humor.
Well, now when you're talking humor again, I guess when I think of humor, like I think of what's appropriate, and jokes or something. How's that going to be appropriate? Like maybe someone who's like a comedian doing like a routine or something, but more than likely any specifics they bring up, like about a skeet range or going hunting, is going to be over people's heads. So they're just not going to be interested, right? But I'm thinking like memes, or I guess memes, or maybe videos or something. But videos that are like a meme, where they're just kind of getting a point across with humor spin.
Are you guys familiar with Bill Burr?
Who?
The comedian Bill Burr. His last name is B-U-R-R.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, comedian. He does a bit. I forgot which special it is. You could probably just type in Bill Burr and guns and watch this skit that he does. And he talks about he buying a 22 for home defense, and he's got a couple different ones, and they're all funny and they're all positive. And he'll say he's not a gun guy, but he's wanting to buy a gun, and he'll talk about people say they need all the other stopping power, but they're immediately going to be deaf as soon as they fire it off from the house. And I'm not going to do his bit, but you need to watch it. He does a couple different ones in amongst all his other stuff, but he comes off in a positive manner towards guns. He's not, I don't think he's diehard pro 2A, by any means, but he tackles the subject and it comes off positively, and it'd be worth watching, to because I think he covers it well, and he works in Hollywood and he works with all these people, and they haven't ostracized him yet because he's coming off in an intelligent manner, and he's got a good point. But you guys watch it for yourselves when you get a chance. Bill Burr, just search him, and it's definitely worth watching.
I would even say, back in, a few years back, when Yankee was doing a lot of those skits, a lot of those things were just flat out funny, whether you were a gun person or not. Just the skits were in themselves were hilarious. So I think, if used in the right context and the right situation, like I said, I mean, obviously, we don't want to use it in certain specific times and all of that, but I think that, like I said, I think the biggest thing is just to prove that we're normal human beings that can be funny. And then, oh, by the way, you drop in, oh, by the way, this, that, and the other. And they see you as a real person. I think that could be huge, especially for, like you guys said, the middle section that may be undecided, But I've never heard of Bill Burr. I need to go check him out.
Yeah, he's pretty funny. I mean, he's really funny in general. He's an angry Boston comedian, so he's got that Boston accent, which automatically makes things funny too. But he just do a Google search or a YouTube search and put in guns, and he's got a couple of different bits, and they're all pretty dang funny, that's for sure.
Dead Horse posted about DTP's comment out there. I think that's super relevant too. And when we're talking humor, again, I throw it out there, and I guess I'm thinking of like positive humor, like funny things, or like things that try to unite or bring people together, right? Bridge conversations. But DTP, Dead Horse, you want to bring that up?
DTP out there said on the Good Channel side, if someone feels that you are making fun of them, it's not going to win them over. And I don't know. I guess there's so many different levels of comedy and stuff like that. But yeah, if you come across condescending or just depending on your delivery, I guess, and stuff, yeah, your comedy could definitely make someone feel like, oh, you're making fun of me that I don't know this stuff or I'm not aware or whatever, and then they're going to instantly stop listening to you, right?
I feel like I cut you off. That's a good point. And like if Ghost said this one, it would be offensive, right? But if I say it, it's fine. What do you call babies with guns?
9mm runners?
No, Ghost wouldn't ever say that one.
No.
What do you call babies with guns?
No.
The infantry. Okay. I'm just saying, there's plenty of guns. But I think that Horse brings up a good point there. And if like, let's say you're a Marine and you're saying some kind of Army joke, we'd take offense at that. But in this case, it's okay because I am saying it.
Is that an Army joke or a dad joke?
Well, the Marines doesn't have no infantry. They're all infantry, basically, in plus, right? So I think we're the only ones with infantry.
Now, I joke with Mike all the time about he calls it infantry blue, but we all know it's Tiffany blue, but, I'll joke about stuff like that,
But there's other ways to do negative stuff, and just maybe even I'm sure that the negative stuff between ourselves, going from like, just good-hearted ribbing or whatever to like angry stuff, right? And mean stuff, like that existing, everything we do, I try to let people know, like, remember everything we do accumulates and it's all out there as part of the thing. I'm sure a lot of the funny stuff or the mean stuff and all that stuff gets filtered and dismissed, but putting it out there is adding to it all. So I guess that's an element when you're thinking of the negative side of the humor or the non-positive side of it. That can be difficult, if nothing else, just difficult to wade through, right? Like it takes somebody who's new to everything a minute to try to figure out what some of the stuff even means, kind of waste people's times perhaps. But again, are we able to pull that even out? I mean, does any part of our culture, any segment of society or any interest group not have people that are going to use everything in it, inappropriately at times?
Well, sure, there's always gonna be somebody that's inappropriate without the intention. There's always gonna be somebody that's looking to make something that was never meant to be inappropriate and out to have been inappropriate. It's just people. I mean, that's the thing. You could say something that is completely innocuous, and someone is going to take offense to it.
I don't know if this is what you mean, but like, me saying BB gun, like there's somebody going to go, oh, you shouldn't joke about guns. You mean like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's true. And by doing it, by, even putting the joke out there, you're going to offend somebody, I guess. But I don't know. Do we look at anything we do with the people
anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Well, I'm just saying, when I look at the type of sense of humor that most anti-gunners I've run into have in the first place, I think you're trying to win them over on the Second Amendment. Like, I think it's totally possible to offend them with anything you say, whether it's offensive or not. They'll just say it offends them just to make your point irrelevant, right? They're like, oh, I won the conversation because you offended me.
Yeah, or you got angry, or you called names, or you had to turn to jokes. So it is one of those things that they can use to say, I can quit now because you started playing a joke, or you had to make light of this. Like, I don't know, could this be considered inappropriate? What's the difference between a gun and a whiny liberal?
What?
What's the difference between a gun and a whiny liberal?
You can silence a gun.
Oh, that's a second answer that I don't have here in my list.
The gun usually works.
One is useful.
Oh shit! There's plenty of good answers. The answer I had here that I stole off the internet was the gun only has one trigger.
Oh,
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That's good.
But a lot of those were good. And those would probably all be examples of pissing them off. So that is an example of pissing them off. And I suppose by putting that out there, and if we endorsed it or pushed it around, and laughed at it, it would put us in a light that we're dismissive or worse, right?
Yep, we're all horrible people.
So what would you call a T-Rex at a gun shop? What would you call a T-Rex at a gun shop? Maybe on the Gun Show Loophole Tour, like if Angelina did a Gun Show Loophole Tour.
A small arms dealer?
Yep, small arms dealer. Nice.
Well done. Well done.
What if he's there to buy, though?
You better not be from out of state.
So there's one person that does come to my mind that I think has used comedy in support of the Second Amendment, and he has offended a lot of people with it, but he hasn't stopped doing it, and I don't think he's wrong for doing it. And that's that Louder with Crowder guy.
Oh, I didn't think you were going to say that, but
That's a good point.
And I know he's offended a lot of people with his stuff and his actual statistics and facts and comedy and stuff on lots of different things, but especially on his Second Amendment stuff. And I have seen him take anti-gunners to the range to shoot, right? And I don't know if it was his comedy that won him over or whatever, but I don't know. He has seemed to smooth some people over with that, but just as many people as he smoothed over with that are at his throat, right? So I don't know. But I like the guy either way. I still like the guy. I support what he does. If he wants to use comedy to win that argument, I'm all for it.
Well, let's just take that same scenario. Is the people that are going to be at his throat are probably going to be at his throat anyways, regardless if it's gun politics or whatever politics he's talking. But if he could flip a handful of those people to take him to the range by his comedy, then he's won a battle. He might not have won the war, but he's won a battle,
So that's really well done, and he does offend a lot of people and says a lot of offensive things, but sometimes things just need to be said, right? And
does he really say offensive things, or does he just? A lot of times
I think his topics could be offensive.
I think his topics. I think it's more of his top. Exactly, it's more his topics are taboo, right, or whatever.
Because
He's
he
great at
tries
just
really
asking
hard,
questions.
regardless of what it is. He tries really hard to make it about facts, and
Yep.
he is very patient in allowing people to speak their what they want to say, and then he'll combat them with facts. But I don't think what he's saying is offensive. I think the topics are polarizing. You know.
Yeah, they're just they're heated discussions, and the topic itself is heated. But I don't think he necessarily says offensive things. He'll say factual things, and he'll make a point not to insult people. But he will also say the truth, and sometimes it gets people upset.
Well, the thing is like, yeah, when you say the truth, you're going to say something offensive to someone, right? To some group, to some person. Like, that's just the way it is. But he's all about that truth and facts, right? So I can respect that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I love Crowder. He's great.
He's great at asking questions rather than making statements.
I think he's funny. I really do. Like, even on his other stuff, like even on non-gun stuff, I'll watch that guy. I think he has some really good. I think he has a good sense of humor.
Speaking of questions, what's a flat earther's least favorite gun? If you asked a flat earther, what would be their least favorite gun?
I can't. What is it?
I believe that would be a revolver.
Oh my god.
I'm stealing that one for sure.
Yeah.
You need to change the name of this chat to G's Got Jokes.
Hey, I'm just stealing these off the internet. I'm not doing anything anybody could be doing right now.
That's
All
a
right.
good one. I like that one. That should be a meme right there.
I should mention, I just typed in gun jokes, right? I'm looking at gun jokes off the internet. 99% of them are horrible, like inappropriate, using guns as like the catch-all for like bad guy violence, recklessness, like it just every negative connotation. So I don't want to do it because it would be depressing, but if you focus on like just one of these websites I found with some of the jokes are just so horrible that they probably, if we wanted to really get serious, we'd probably get just as much or more out of what our humor tells us about perceptions of guns, period. I guess maybe knowing that, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it today in a positive light, right, is so that we can maybe contribute to the positive side of it and offer some resistance through our own just efforts. Now, let me ask this one. This one I think is questionable because of the stupid media, and I'm not even kidding, but what sound does it? No, it's not. No, I'm not even going to say it. It was a church one, and it pew, 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 right? But, I mean, I don't think that would be appropriate, even if it was funny, right? Like, because they've ruined that one with their exploitation of the horrible things that a few individuals will do, politically with the firearm. Oh, killed it with that one. Should have had one set up or queued up.
Go ahead.
No, start saying something.
Okay, another really good guy that uses humor would be Charlie Cook and Riding Shotgun with Charlie and his Gun Grams ones. Those are funny as hell.
So a lot of puns and stuff, I'm guessing?
Well, the Gun Grams, he plays an instrument, and then during the playing of the instrument, he fires off a gun as part of the song.
I'm sorry. I'm looking up gun jokes on the internet.
What does a cop say? This is off of Rob C out there. What does a cop say to the guy carrying a SIG P320? We don't have the answer yet. He just really asked that one.
He says,
It's got to be something about don't drop it or something.
yeah, don't drop it. Put the gun down slowly.
Please set it down slowly, yeah. What kind of guns do you find at the flea market or the swap meet?
Do depends on the flea market and the swap meet that I go to, because most of them don't allow real firearms, just black powder stuff. Or
But in general, what kind of guns would you find at a flea market or a swap meet?
oh, is this a joke?
Those would be
Dead
bar
horse is
guns.
going all serious. What was it?
Bar guns. Bar guns.
Dad jokes.
I like this one.
Wouldn't
All right,
that
I
also
like
be
this
the
one.
kind
I
of-
like
kind
this.
of guns you find at a tavern?
What's that?
Wouldn't that also be the kind of guns you find at a tavern?
I guess bar guns. So, but it plays with the swap meet better. But this one I kind of like. I'm reading it. If you believe every citizen should own a gun, raise your hand. And if you don't, raise both hands and give me your wallet.
I like that.
It kind of, you could play that. I wouldn't want to say it to somebody because then it implies that I'm holding them up. But you could put that into a little
that
kind
one
of
makes you
two-frame
think.
cartoons with the little simple characters, so that it's all about the like a Far Side type of thing, right?
But that makes people think.
Yeah. Then maybe that's what I was thinking with like memes. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this one? Is this anti-gun or is this pro-gun? Guns don't kill people. People kill people. But I'd rather take my chances against someone with a spoon. Is it anti? Did everybody hear it? Guns don't kill people. People kill people. But I'd rather take my chances against someone with a spoon. Would you think that's pro-gun or anti-gun? Dead horse?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't either. Ghost?
Man, I think you have an argument both ways. I don't know.
Obnoxious? Sarge?
I thought that was pro-gun, unless I heard it wrong.
Guns don't kill people. People kill people. But I'd rather take my chances against someone with a spoon. Woods, what do you think?
Well,
I think
who
Oh,
has
go
the
ahead.
spoon? The other person or me?
Well, it says I'd rather take my chances against someone with a spoon. So it seems to me like they assume they're going to get robbed or molested or something. And when that happens, they'd rather have that person have a spoon instead of a gun. So it seems kind of defeatist, right? But Woods, what do you think?
Is it anti-gun, being that they would outlaw all guns or whatever, and then the bad guys would only have spoons?
But maybe I got my gun and they only have a spoon.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting one. And I don't know. Does humor need to convey a point of view, or can it simply question everyone's thoughts? Because isn't that a point of it, right? One of the points is to make you open your head a bit.
Yes, amen.
DTP is saying, seems anti to me, and ambiguity is not helpful. I think that's a valid point. I'm not clear.
Hey, I'm gonna put this on mute for just a second. We're getting ready to pull in my driveway. I'll jump back in a second.
Right on. I don't know. So, anywhere else to take this one?
I don't know. I'm looking for funny jokes.
Yeah, are you seeing the same thing? I'm like,
Yeah, it's
13,
most of them are
14
not
before I
good.
found a good one.
Yeah. I even did pro-gun jokes, and they're not very good.
So do you think, since you're experiencing the same thing I am, and if anybody else out there is doing the same thing at home, then do you think it's worth accumulating them, or maybe doing like a joke of the week and accumulating some pro-gun, positive, funny stuff?
That'd be something
I-
to look into.
I like the idea for sure. Yeah. And you could, if you throw in like memes, then that could be really interesting, because there's some really funny memes that you can't really tell as jokes, but the picture explains the joke, you know?
And I think there's, I don't know. I mean, that's sort of like art or comics, right? That's something where nothing's going to appeal to everybody. Or very few comics or very few anything appeals to a lot of people, right? So, it's one of those things I think that you might catch somebody's eye. They're just thumbing through surfing or something, right?
Yeah, I think that that's the beauty of memes these days is, you can get your joke or your point across in 1 second when they just look at a picture,
99% of all gun memes I see are just gun guys that are ragging on other gun guys because they don't have the same gun or holster or grip as they do.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, that has a potential to kind of almost defeat the purpose of the humor thing with the memes, because literally 99% of all the memes I see are just garbage.
Well, and I mean, I agree with you 100%, and that I think is one of the negative sides of it all. What do you think, though, the odds are that people are even going to understand some of them when they're really, inside the group to inside the group stuff? I mean, they probably can tell it's negative, but they're not going to understand the point of it, right?
I don't know. It's ammunition for them to use for sure, whether they understand it or not. It can be ammunition for them to use. Like, oh, look, these gun guys don't even like these other gun guys having this type of gun.
And
Like,
it certainly,
like,
and it doesn't help us much at all. I mean, really at all. It's just divisional, right?
Well, and there's a huge difference between memes that are funny and then memes that are insulting, even to the other side, depending on like how it's placed.
That's a good point. And I guess when I keep saying memes, I'm thinking in my mind like the insightful, poignant ones, not the petty divisional shit.
Yeah, and I don't see the insightful, pointful ones. I might not be subscribed to the right people or whatever, but I just don't see those coming up. Like, I don't see that. Like, maybe from a gun manufacturer once in a while, they'll do a tasteful one, like an actual company. But other than like a company, I don't see that coming from like people and stuff.
Studies show that owning a ladder is 10 times more dangerous than owning a gun. That's why I own 10 guns in case some maniac tries to come at me with a ladder. I think that one's
I saw one that says Chuck Norris was shot with a .380. The bullet was critically damaged. Thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, there was big news about Chuck Norris today. Did you guys hear that?
Okay, yeah, this is a joke. But I guess it will be, right? But yeah, why don't you say what that is? Because that's new and it's going to be around for a while, it sounds like.
Chuck Norris is the official spokesman of Glock.
Yeah,
And
this is going to be around for a long time.
But he'll never replace Gunny. But if there was any person out there to fill his shoes, I guess it'd be Chuck Norris.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's going to be a flood for about a month of some pretty hilarious memes out there. I mean, you can only imagine,
I want to know, has Chuck Norris ever used a Glock in any movie he's ever been in? Because I can't think of a single one. That's the first thing I thought. I was like, has he ever even like used a Glock in a movie? And I couldn't think of a single movie. Because a lot of his movies were before Glock, right? So, but thinking like 86 and on, I can't think of any, like not even in his TV series. I can't think that he used a Glock. Not in the Expendables. I don't know. Any of you guys Chuck Norris fans? Can you guys think of any instance he used a Glock?
I know Walker Texas Ranger used a revolver until it broke, and then I'm thinking Taurus PT, the Beretta copy. It's because it was shiny. But he'd only use guns until he ran out of ammo, and then he'd have to do the round kick. We all waited for the last 2 minutes where he's going to round kick somebody.
I think that's a great choice as a spokesman, though, for Glock. It is. I think, just like Gunny was a great choice, right? I think that they're really, really smart over there, and they're really savvy businessmen, and they probably put a lot of research into, like, oh, who do we want? Like,
Yeah, I agree. They nailed it again.
Yeah, they really could have just picked, like, some person that hardly anyone's heard of, right? Like some competition shooter or something that only half the gun world's heard of. But no, they went with someone everyone knows.
Well, I mean, how many brands have been using, for shoes, somebody that can run real fast, one of the Olympic guys, or I mean, he's synonymous with toughness, right? Whether it's deserved or not.
Oh, that guy could probably do more push-ups or sit-ups or.
Oh, I'm sure he
here.
crushed me in 5 seconds. But he does talk
in like 80.
If you've seen him be interviewed, he'll freely admit that the Chuck Norris that we all like, know and love, that's a character. Like, it's not really him, but he's really good at using that character.
That guy's tough as hell. I don't care what he says. He's humble, dude. That guy's tough as nails, dude.
So one of the fixtures, really, I'm trying to think, I think as long as I've been going to SHOT Show for 15 years, has been Arlie Emery. Well, for most of that time, Arlie Emery set up for 2 full days, 4 full days at SHOT, but 2 full days at NRA and all these other events where he sets up camp and takes time to talk to people, and people wait in line like for hours. They'll wait in line a significant amount of the time the event takes place, because it was worth meeting him. He was an honest dude. He was legit, and everybody waited in line because they knew that when they got up there, he was going to take a minute and ask them why they brought whatever it was to sign, and ask them, listen to him, tell him about how great he is or what they liked him in. And he would take time to sign stuff and take a picture. And from my experience, when you'd be standing in line waiting, you got to experience maybe 10 or 15 people's worth of, interactions with him. And it just solidified that this guy is salt of the earth. I mean, he was legit freaking grandpa to everybody and just the coolest dude ever. I mean, Chuck Norris is cool and everything. I just don't know if we'll ever see that with anybody again. I'm trying to think of who could fill that kind of role that's beloved by like the entire nation, or literally probably the world, right? And in a way that's not John Wayne or something. I mean, like, he's that level. I mean, Chuck Norris is. Well, I guess you're right, though. I mean, shit, who else could they pick that's at that level? It's alive and willing.
That's what I said. I don't think they could have picked anyone else that could have filled those shoes better than the.
Okay, Tom Selleck. He wouldn't do it though. Right, but like Tom Selleck or Harrison Ford. I mean, seriously, you'd have to get somebody like that to be more.
Yeah.
Him, yeah.
Kurt Russell.
Nah.
Yeah, he's a little bit too campy or whatever. But maybe. I don't know.
Tommy Lee Jones, he's pretty pro-gun. At least he was at one point.
I'm surprised they didn't go with someone like Ice-T or something, all right? Like a more of a...
that's true. Yeah.
That would be neat. That would have been really cool. That should be a neat bracket for Matt, or Pancakes is probably listening, because he always takes notes and steals ideas from other people, but like a bracket of who would be a good Glock spokesman.
I wonder if they announced it now. I mean, I'm assuming that means he'll probably be at NRA, I guess.
Okay, here's one thing that I want to run through you guys real quick.
Yeah.
Can you guys name any other spokesman from like a popular company like Smith & Wesson or, Beretta or, just Remington? Like, can you name any?
Like a straight up celebrity?
Like name their main spokesman from any other company.
Well, Walther has Crowder.
Is that their main spokesman?
Yeah, he's a paid spokesman for Walther now. But that's the only one I can think of. And you understand though is most celebrities, quote unquote celebrities, are afraid to even be around the gun community because Hollywood is such a liberal based place that I've actually heard celebrities say that they're fearful if they come out for anything that's on the Republican agenda that they wouldn't get jobs. So you've got to be pretty established, like a Chuck Norris, like someone at that level that they don't care about the place anymore. But I don't know of any. I mean, I don't know of any celebrities that are straight up spokesmen anymore. I don't know if there ever really will be again, except for maybe Chuck Norris.
I'm going backwards and trying to think from like companies. Ruger, nobody. Smith & Wesson, can't think of anything. Beretta.
Can't think of any.
The only thing I can think of is is Joe Montana guy? Is he doing something?
Yeah, but he's not a spokesman.
No, he's just a pro gun guy, I guess, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like smaller. I mean, whatever. There's
Was it Charles Bronson on the show Beretta? But he probably wasn't a spokesman for Beretta. He was just on this TV show called
oh no,
Beretta,
that was
right?
a different guy. That was a different guy. But no, yeah, the guy was just named Beretta. Yeah, they had nothing to do with the
Yeah, it had nothing to do. I know, but I did. Oh, I thought it was Charles. Wasn't Charles Bronson?
who was Beretta? Beretta was. I'll think of his name, and I'm not trying to think of it. Somebody out there.
Okay. Okay.
But anyway, so what?
Was Clint Eastwood ever with anyone?
No, Winchester never had anybody.
Because Clint Eastwood would be great to have on someone, you know.
What about like any of the more recent military guys that might even still be alive? Are they with anybody?
Well, like Marcus Luttrell is not with anybody.
And if it was, it would be like a bolt gun probably or something.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think that what I want to say that Chris Kyle, this American Sniper, I mean, he's obviously not around, but I think he used like I want to say he used a CZ-338 Lapua. No,
Pink is
he's not a
saying
spokesman, but if he was still alive, that'd be something that they could probably utilize.
Pink is saying the Taurus has Matt never enough ammo.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
Chiappa has Yankee,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, how come? Matt-
Chris has Outlaw
Hatfield.
Hatfield.
They keep trying to pivot and twist and turn and go down alleys the wrong way streets and stuff, backwards over tire spikes, but they still got them.
Well, I did hear that Glock was really hard after Hatfield, but he did turn. That's why they went to Chuck Norris.
That's how they had to deal with Chuck Norris as an after.
Yeah, yeah, he was the obvious second.
Ozark is saying Clint Eastwood is pretty much a spokesperson for Smith & Wesson.
Is he? Okay. Well,
Kind of iconic. Well, the whole Dirty Harry thing, right?
yeah, but
Oh, you know what happened?
indirectly, not directly though.
I accidentally started the show while it was unlisted. I created a bunch of these shows weeks ago, and it flooded everybody's inbox. So I slipped from the unlisted so that they would disappear from everybody's inbox, and then I forgot to flip it to public before I went live. So I think it went live as unlisted and didn't send out alerts. And when I flipped it over to public, I don't know if it actually sent an alert or not, but so I had a goofy intro today. What about I don't know. I guess we were talking about humor and stuff. Any other ways of humor? Do the humor movies that are out there? A lot of them are gun stuff because guns are in a lot of stuff. It's part of our society. Are the gun humor things positive overall, negative overall? I know it's a big subject, but got a couple of people in here. Let's start off with the left to right. We'll go Woods. All the guns in comedy movies, overall positive, negative?
I'm going to have to unfortunately say overall negative.
Okay. Obnoxious. Sarge, you guys back? Okay, so Ghost.
Unfortunately, I'd have to agree. I think it's overall negative.
And then Dead Horse.
Negative.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to agree, but I'd like to be optimistic and think that, that can change. But
I'm back, G. I just dropped Sarge off. I think I'm officially the last Gun Channels guy on the road.
might be. Dano's out there and he won't join, so he could be on the road. If he's not joining, we don't know.
Nope, he's home. He joined in the chat on Sarge's show, so he's home.
Oh, he'll join other shows, just not our show. I got it.
Well, he just joined on the chat. He didn't join into the show.
Could it be more blatant? We understand.
So what was it? That one is it?
Movies with comedy movies that have guns. Overall, are they a negative or a positive for 2A?
Negative, because they're usually doing something stupid with them, or they've got some kind of they make them the butt of the joke. So I'm gonna go negative.
See, that's kind of how I feel about these, these gun epic fail videos. I enjoy watching them because they're funny because people are idiots. But for the community, they're ultimately harmful for the community, but I just enjoy watching people make fools of themselves. But yeah, the epic fail videos I don't think are good for us, but they're funny to me.
So then I'm going to transition from movies. What about like these movies that are recent that are made by gun people? Like at first I was thinking of the one article, no, Range 15. What's that one called? 15 with the guys from YouTube. They did a Kickstarter to fund it.
Yeah, like Range 15
The Range 15. I always keep saying Article 15.
or
But,
Daylight's End, or I don't know.
well, that's what I was going to say too. Daylight's End isn't really a comedy though, but I mean, it's an example of another gun culture, gun community funded product or project that's focused on good gun handling and interesting shit. But anyway, the Range 15 show, and there's got to be another one that was I'm thinking of, but something like that where they're at least super aware, and then doing a funny movie. I guess any comments? I don't know what to say about it.
I mean, I think that like Range 15 stuff like that, I think that people that are in the gun community appreciate it. But I don't think that people outside the community understand it, nor do they appreciate it. But I think that we see it as something different than the average person might, because we kind of understand what they're trying to do. I don't know.
When I look at these Hollywood comedy movies and Hollywood comedians in general, an overwhelming number of them seem to be anti-gun. So much so that they have anti-gun comedy specials where, tons of celebrity comedy guys show up to tell jokes, right, in support of to raise money for anti-gun things. And that's happened several times, right? So, and I think it gives them a bad experience on the set of these movies, because it's like for like 5 seconds, a guy walks over to him, here, hold this gun, point it, shoot it. And yeah, they're just shooting blanks. They don't have hearing protection in. They're not trained right how to hold it. And they're like, oh yeah, like this gun was loud and annoying and it scared me and it was a horrible experience and guns are evil. And so then they just go along with it. So I think that whole thing like helps support their whole experience with guns on the set of their movies. Helps their whole like, oh yeah, I'm an expert now. I handled a gun on the set of a movie. Right? Like they're loud, evil, bad things. And so because just an overwhelming number of them are all anti-gun. So I don't know.
No, that's an excellent point, I think. And the other end of it is nowadays with the CGI and stuff, they just give them some like prop dummy gun or whatever, and they just say, okay, here's your gun, and then go wiggle your hand, and that's the recoil. So they don't even have, they either have, like you say, a negative perhaps, or like a loud, scary interaction with them, and then of course this like over safety, stupid like suggestion that they're like the most dangerous things on a movie set or something. I'm sure they deal with them like extra security and like they're about to go on murderous rampages themselves as inanimate objects, right? But then the other side is that they get like completely ignorant because they're just like faking it and they do whatever they want as far as gun handling because no one's there to instruct them or give them any insight. And then it's just all the recoil and flash and stuff is done with CGI or something in editing. And then they have like zero experience with guns. So whatever their perceptions are, just, not challenged at all.
I was watching a thing a couple days ago. Was with my dad on YouTube, and it was Charlize Theron was talking about her training in Atomic Blonde, and that she had very little experience prior with guns, and she did a lot of training with gun handling and then fighting in martial arts and judo and jiu-jitsu and all that. But she said when she left that set, she may have not become a gun person, but she came to respect the art of handling a gun properly, and she took it very seriously. So in a sense, is that a win? I think that she may not be a gun person, but I don't think she's ever going to go openly speak against guns now. So I think it is a win that some of these actors that take their roles very, very seriously and do it the right way, at least are not harmful to our cause. They might not be helpful, but they're not going to speak out against it. So, getting some of these actors that take their role seriously and learn the handling of guns properly, I think that does help somewhat.
Yeah, but let's face it. How many comedians are going to be in like that class of movie?
But but you're not talking humor at that point. Yeah, but
Melissa McCarthy
you're not
ain't going to be in
exactly.
that kind of movie anytime soon.
Yeah, you're not talking comedians, but it is nice to see that there are some of these, the Keanu Reeves, the Halle Berrys, the Charlize Therons, the Mark Wahlbergs that, kind of gotten into guns a little bit because of some of their roles. That's a positive thing. And I want to go back real quick, G, and I don't watch any of this stuff, but does Ted Nugent, is he a spokesman for anybody?
NRA.
Oh, after 2009, when his bodyguards pushed me down, I had not been following his work.
Yeah, but I figured he's got to be a spokesman for some kind of company out there.
Isn't it just NRA, and doesn't he own his own bow and arrow company?
Probably. See, I don't know. I don't watch any of his stuff, so I don't know if he has his own company or not.
2009, NRA show, Phoenix, big giant building, little baby G-Webs. Walk down the escalator, don't even know where I'm supposed to go, but I know I'm pressed, so I'm better.
Little baby and G-Webs will never run into the same sentence together, so just stop right there.
Got my press pass. I'm barely 4 years into this whole thing, so I'm still wet behind the ears, and I'm looking for my own personal way to get in. So I find this set of doors. I go to open them. Bam! I'm accosted by a big group of security thugs, push me down, step all over me, and I'm pushed out of the way. And then Ted Nugent walks through like he's the boss of everything. And then went up the escalator, and then I was left there to fend for myself. It's horrible. I lived through it. I'm still here. Still kicking.
Wish you would have got that on video. That'd be funny.
Should have. Then I could have taken him to court.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, how are we going to kill this one? Is there anything else to talk about here? If let's take a look over here at the cartoon we made for this one. We got this anti-gunner with a knife jabbing Freedom in the neck. Daily Gun shows another bear coming over. What do we do? This is Freedom the bear getting jabbed in the neck by this anti-gunner. What do we do next?
We eat the anti-gunner.
I was going to say probably eat the anti-gunner.
Wouldn't that give you heartburn? What if you just bit him a bunch of times in the abdomen and let him die? Because then that way you don't get the heartburn from it. The runs. I don't want the runs.
Well, the rest of us are meat eaters, so we're okay with that.
All right. Yeah, you're more adjusted to it. Wow, nothing but dead air. All right, well, so what do we do next? Anything else? Gun shop of the day? Obnoxious, you and Sarge check out anything on the road? Any kind of gun shops or anything?
No, we didn't hit any gun shops. The only thing we hit on the road was there was a Harley dealership in Arkansas that was named Toad Suck. So
yeah, you guys were 45 minutes from me.
I absolutely had to stop and get a T-shirt from the Toad Suck Harley Davidson.
Yep, Toad Suck is 45 minutes from me, and the 45 minutes the other side is Bald Knob, Arkansas. No joke.
Oh man, sorry I missed that one, but it's an absolute. I got the headed in orange, of course, and it's absolutely glorious. It's got a toad riding the motorcycle and giving the motorcycle wave. And the only thing more glorious was their other design, which had the back side of the toad, and he had plumber's butt. But they didn't have that one in orange. So that was the only stop we made. So sorry we don't have a.
Well, let me ask you this real quick, Obnoxious. Were there any cool gun shops at Wanamaker that had some really cool displays at the gun show?
Oh, there was so many, so many. I can't even. I mean, you've been there, Ghost. You know how big.
No, I was just saying, is if there was one that stuck out, that could be the gun shop of the day.
Oh, the best I can do for you is Wild West Guns. They didn't have a great big display, going, but they had their cool guns there, and somebody from Gun Channels may or may not have bought a Marlin 1894 from Wild West Guns.
That's just pretty neat because that's a cool company. You been to Vegas before?
I have, but way back when.
If you ever do get to Vegas, they have a location in Vegas now that's not very far from the Strip at all. In fact, I think they may even have shuttles. So if you wanted to get there from a hotel or something, if you were visiting for any kind of reason that you didn't have a car, they can even come get you, let you check out the shop. And it's a decent shop. It's pretty cool.
Well, that's cool. If I'm out there, fingers crossed, maybe SHOT Show next year. And I will definitely be out there to check them out then.
Well, it is Monday, and that makes me think, since we're talking about SHOT Show, we might take a look at the calendar. It's something we used to do historically on Mondays, and I should probably start doing it again. So over on Gun Channels, one of the reasons we built the whole place was to keep people informed of what's going on in the various parts of our community. Probably a little bit extra focus on Second Amendment advocacy and those kind of events. But anybody's welcome to put anything firearms related into the calendar. Every member of Gun Channels has access to the calendar. And let's take a look. We've got some stuff coming up in the next month or so. And then we'll take a look at some of the stuff coming out in the rest of the year so you can start putting it on your calendars. So we got the Girl in a Gun National Conference coming up on Thursday at Knob Creek Machine Gun Shoot coming up this next weekend, as well as Kalash Bash down in Texas. Kalashnikov themed event, which is basically like a gun show slash exhibition shoot at a range. So they're able to walk up, check out a lot of the products there from the manufacturers, but additionally pull triggers on them, which will be neat. And then at the same time, there's a Kalashnikov themed shooting match going on. So it's their second year. It's the first year they're kind of ramping it up. Really interested in seeing how that one turns out. Everything about that is neat. And you could easily take the Kalashnikov theme away and replace it with cowboy guns or CCW or long range. You go to any aspect of firearms, and this concept of doing an event at a shooting range with food, and it's an overnight event, so there'll be people that are interested in this, the Kalashnikovs, the AKs, getting together and camping out. I can't imagine how cool of an event that's going to be, and how it'll bring the community together. We've seen the kind of relationships and collaborations that can take place just through the electronic meetups, but this is an excuse to get together in real life, spend some real hours, real time, real days with other people. This is how the industry develops and evolves. I'm really looking forward to something like that. If you know of other events going on, we know the Bullpup Shoot is coming up later on in the year. That's the same kind of thing. So hopefully there's more of these going on than we know of, and if you're aware of them, put them in the calendar. That's what it's all about. We're talking about this on Mondays because I flipped the internet over and looked at the bottom of this. It's a bunch of tubes, the little tubes that go from Gun Channels, a site that's been online for 6 years with hundreds, if not thousands, of people contributing to it. This is a site that's a little bit bigger than anything they're going to be able to build with their own dollars and time. So when we attach things to smaller entities on the web, we're providing a service more than just the potential for a human being to see our calendar. So let's remember that we are using the internet, not watching television or reading a freaking newspaper. What we do has significance, it accumulates, and there's consequences. And we can either have inadvertent consequences. You can be a drifter and just let the internet use your browsing habits or your histories as numbers that they sell to big corporations, or you can use your influence and help determine what those influencers will do with the information they buy from Google. Anyhow, so then we got the cartridge show coming up in April. We've got the NRA show coming up at the end of April as well. Then there's the Firearms Industry Compliance Conference. I just stuck this in here because NSSF gets basically ignored except for SHOT Show, but they're the industry, what do you call them, group or industry affiliate organization. So they're involved with government and industry and retailers and customers to some extent. So this might be interesting for people. We got the 39th annual Law Enforcement Training Conference down in New Orleans, I think. Put that in there because of Ghost doing his whole training day project. Figured it's a little late for him to get on this one this year, but threw it in the calendar. Harrisburg Rally, I guess that's something in Pennsylvania. 2A rally, perhaps. If you want to click on any of these and see them, just click on it. Go to Gun Channels, click on the events. You don't have to be a member. Anybody can click on the events. Somebody want to say
Hey,
something?
G, when and where is the bullpup shoot? That would be something I'd be interested in. When and where is that?
Illinois, up by Dano, who's not in here, even though he has a link, both on Gun Channels, over here on his private messages, and in an email. But it's up by Dano, northern Illinois. If you looked at Illinois, it looks kind of like an arrowhead. Chicago is on the top northeast. It's on the top northwest. So if you go all the way across Illinois to the west, towards where Iowa's at, that's where the bullpup shoot is. And I believe it's in September, at some point in September, because I went there
Interesting.
just before the Gun Rights Policy Conference in 2018. I went up there maybe a month before I went by you, something like that.
I do like bullpups, so that might be something I'm definitely going to Clash Bash next year. That sounds like a blast.
Seriously, yeah, that sounds like super cool. The bullpup shoot is not only an interesting shoot. We like shooting, and I can't think of the people that work with them. The Illinois company. Why can't I think of them? That works with We Like Shooting since the beginning.
Blackwater?
No, Illinois company with We Like Shooting. Manticore Arms. I think Manticore Arms originally started it. Anyway, so it's an interesting event because they bring a lot of the region's manufacturers there. Of course, all the bullpup manufacturers, but there's a lot of people in that area that showed up too, like Krebs. I don't know if Krebs does anything with bullpups, but he was there because he's in Illinois. So anyway, a bunch of these people show up. They've got tents and stuff, so you definitely get some content as a creator. Or if you're just not creating content, I guess you could go there and just get a chance to meet and greet, talk to people, meet the people who actually create the stuff you like. But then I think you have to pay something. You go down to the line and basically have the opportunity to shoot all kinds of different bullpups. So yeah, if you're a bullpup nut, it would certainly be neat. The event's totally worth it for the event. And then the location is really, really cool. The place is called The Site. So it has a weird name, The Site. And you basically got to drive from Chicago, probably because that's where you're going. Well, you're going to be driving. So you'll drive up to Illinois, and you'll go from whatever you call rural to urban to rural to farms. Now you're on farm roads, just these crazy roads in between cornfields that are most of the Midwest. And then you finally get to this cow factory. You go behind there into the woods, and then it pops out into just the manicured lawns and really big structures, and it just looks like a Blackwater training facility out in the middle of nowhere. And I guess there's some giant lodge near there too if you wanted to stay near there. So anyway,
that definitely sounds something I'd be interested in.
You got the USCCA conference coming up. Is anybody going to that? The USCCA, it's our 5th version of the NRA show.
Sarge was talking about maybe getting there because I believe he has that weekend off. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it up there, but Sarge was definitely talking about trying to get it because he's got that weekend off. Now, I would like to interject because you brought up, getting out there and meeting everybody, and I can tell you just from this experience that, guys that I've been online with, that I've met online and gotten to be friends with online, and there's nothing like getting out there and actually meeting them, and not just getting out and doing the industry stuff, but meeting people that you've met online. Sarge and I do a weekly show together, and I drove 3 hours, picked him up, and we spent the whole weekend literally together because we drove out there, we shared a room, we drove back, and it was awesome. And meeting all the guys out there was awesome. So if you've got something that's close to you and somebody's going, get out there and go to it and meet those people and make those connections and deepen those connections.
Yeah, it's tough to explain, but it's neat because you've known them for most of the time. You know the person for all but then you actually meet. It's like you're meeting them for the first time, but you're not. But yeah, it's difficult. I don't know if there's. I don't know. I think I had an experience like this when I worked at AOL. One of the projects I worked on involved another location. We had multiple centers and infrastructure or whatever. So I had worked all the time, like daily, with the other crew or whatever, these 5 different crews. And I eventually drove up to Albuquerque because I can't, we're close enough to do it. And it's not just basically on the other side of our hunting area. So it's, I was totally familiar with driving up there, and it was amazing. It was really, really neat. Just, being able to put a face to a name, but then like the whole personalities and just, yeah, it's just, and then it's going to facilitate going forward your ability to do things, right? And that's where the projects again grow and evolve from that. And it helps to make it all real, right? There's so much you can do with this electronic communication, but it's 10,000 times faster when you're actually in a room with somebody, especially when you've got a basis of, working together or collaborating on a lot of things. Just being in the room together, working on equipment, you could be like, oh, okay, I see what you mean there. Oh, I see what you're doing with your camera. Now, you can just, you're going forward, you're going to be at a whole nother level that would have taken you maybe 5 times as long without that opportunity, right?
Oh yeah, and you realize that some of the guys that you've been talking to online for the last year and a half or whatever, and then you meet up and you get even closer. I mean, Sarge and I pulled out, and about a half hour after we pulled out, we got a call from Snob. Hey, have you guys left yet? He wanted to come meet up because he was up. His work had finished up really early, so he wanted to come meet up. And we're like, yeah, we're on the road. But I mean, spent the whole weekend together, and a half hour, after we left, he's calling and wanting to meet up again. So it was an awesome experience, not just for Wanamaker, but meeting the people. So yeah, if you can get out there and something close to you, and that somebody from the community that you've had a discussion with, or you've worked, you've collaborated a little bit with, go out there, meet them face to face. You may make even a better connection than what you already have online with them.
Sounds like if you guys would have thought about it, he could have put his bike in the back of the car or in the back of the truck. Then you guys could have drove him down to Little Rock or something, and then he could have just took his bicycle back. But you could have bullshitted in the car all that way.
Yeah, he could totally put his. I got the truck, so he totally could have put his bike. He might even have gotten a motorcycle back there, so he didn't have to pedal.
Put 10 speed back there. He's got 10 speeds that way. He'll be all right.
Oh yeah, 10 speed would totally be fine. At least from Arkansas back.
So then we've got the what they call this thing, the annual Colorado Gun Collectors Association. It's basically an antique gun show. So I imagine it's like you take all the antique stuff, and I'm guessing some of the higher end antique stuff out of Tulsa, and you put it down in Denver. I've been interested in seeing this one for a few years now. It's on their 54th year. So imagine Tulsa's been going on, they say, for 65 plus. This one's right on their heels at 54 years. I mean, certainly older than anybody in this chat, I think. Then we got the Creator Summit coming up on May 19th, which is the preliminary. I don't know how to say that guy's name, Tyvon, I think. But Armament and Axis are working together on these. There's one here, and then there's one in September. I think this one is the one-day event. Well, this is the one-day event, and then there's one in September that's a multi-day event. Right after that, you've got Kevin, or KD, doing his, I don't know what to call it. It's more than just a 2A media workshop. It's a 2A media workshop with firearms instructors, so that the firearms instructors can learn the tips and tricks and skills of the media people, and the media people can learn the firearms handling and manipulation, as well as instruction methods and getting information across, skills, or whatever that would be called, from trainers. So I think that's an awesome idea. It's something I never heard of. I mean, just the idea of having a 2A media summit, in addition to some of the other that are out there, is awesome. Doing it in the middle of the year and doing it in St. Louis is all innovative, and it's all one of a kind. But then he added this spin with the instructors. I think that's really neat. Really looking forward to that. So, put that on your agenda if you're interested in attending. It's more than just the classroom or the range time. There's, again, because it's a multi-day event, Kevin's going to take advantage of that and have after hours ways to network and collaborate. So like we're just talking about, I mean, he appreciates that, he understands it, and he's worked it into his event. So really looking forward to how that one turns out. Got Blade Show in here, which is the blade or knife industry's equivalent of SHOT, I guess, even though it's like held in a gymnasium somewhere. It's very small, but it happens every year. It's been going on for a long time. I don't know what Armory Day celebration is. That's something happening in June. We've got the Outdoor Writers Association or something like that conference in June. There's a couple of different two-way media organizations out there, from a traditional print media, I think, and from radio shows, like those kind of days. And there might be something to becoming a member of those, especially if you're writing stuff like for the Gear Report contributors. There might be ways to kind of use these as an alternative, or I guess a conjunction with like a LinkedIn type of a situation, from what it sounds like. You got the Oklahoma Fast Shoot Full Auto and Trade Show put on by Mike Friend of ours in Tulsa area. That comes up in June, the weekend after Father's Day is the easiest way to remember it. Basically a little version of the Big Sandy machine gun shoot mixed with Creek. I'm way into the future now, but we got the National 4-H Shooting Championships coming up in June. Threw that in there mainly just so we don't forget that, you know, the youth shooters are our next generation and all that, and there's all kinds of organized stuff going on for them. Unless you're involved in it, tends to get ignored or just not focused on. So I just threw that in there in case anybody happens to be nearby, or it's, you know, it's also in the time of year when not many other 2A things are going on. We got something called the International Military Technical Forum, Army 2009. I think that might be Russia's SHOT Show or one of the other SHOT shows. Now this is Russia's SHOT Show. So there was Germany or Europe SHOT Show like a couple weeks back, and then there's an Indonesia SHOT Show, there's an Asia SHOT Show, and then this is the Russia SHOT Show. I think there might even be a South American SHOT Show. So there's a bunch of different international SHOT Show things. You got TriggerCon. I think that's still coming up in July again this year. Nobody from Gun Channels goes to that one anymore. Marco had gone to that one. Yankee's gone to that one. Pink, I think, went to that one. Got this anime summer thing, which is actually something else. Army, Navy, something trade show. Get the NRA Carry Guard Expo, little tiny version of the NRA show, but it's got some conferences and seminars, I guess, on concealed carry topics. But there's also manufacturers represented there. I don't think anyone's actually gone to that one that we know. I think Tony Simon might have gone to it, but couldn't go because of the hurricane screwed it up for him last year, I think. I think that's the only person we know that's gone to this one. There's your Bullpup shoot, September 7th. And again, Armament and Axis is that channel? It's Armament and Axis, right? Is he out here? But that's his Creator Summit coming up in September. Then you got the other side of the machine gun shoots, the Knob Creek and the Big Sandy. There's more in the calendar. They're just not displayed here, but you can dig in. Last one I'll mention is September 20th is the Gun Rights Policy Conference in Phoenix. Put that on your schedule. If you're going to do anything to travel for guns this year, the Gun Rights Policy Conference is what I'd recommend. We're going to have a big fight next year. You want to have your finger on the pulse, your thumb on the carotid, then that's your way to do it. What is this all about?
Oh, that's just some events that I have up.
The Utah State Rifle and Pistol Association. This is last year. No, this is as of whatever. There's still 19 dates on here. Those are a bunch of tournaments mostly.
Yep, long range shooting tournaments out at the Wendover range.
Oh, so that's something interesting. People are definitely welcome on Every Second Matters. You know, the whole goal of Every Second Matters website is to archive or whatever, host all the different Second Amendment organizations out there, pro-gun owners' rights organizations that are out there, and state level rifle and pistol associations certainly qualify, right? And then one of the reasons of setting it up the way we did is once you've created an organization like the Utah State Rifle and Pistol Association in Every Second Matters, then you can go to that and add an event. So you could easily add these events. They'd be on the calendar over there, and again, they'll point to that Because ideally, eyeballs see it, but the robots that are watching everything on the internet, the little spiders they're called, that map out the internet often, the more and more links we put out there that replicate the important stuff that's well important to us, the more credibility we're giving it. All right, so I see Night Prowlers out there. Brought his kid and his wife down. They had a bit of a vacation and got to go to the show and meet up with everybody as well. Saying, good, I went to Tulsa. Met some of the Gun Channels guys. Haven't been on the chats. Then cool thing is my son had a lot of fun meeting everybody. He knew nothing about it, but he's hooked me and wants to do more. I think he's hooked and hooked me and wants to do more of it. That's good, because it sounds like you're not that far from it. Didn't even realize Fine Ache was there until somebody let it slip. All right, he's got to go back to work. So right on. See, DB Cooper is out there also. Welcome. Welcome to jump in anytime. And Pink's out there. I guess some people are working. All right, with this, though, I think we can wrap it up. We've been chatting for a bit. I wanted to talk about humor. I think we talked all over the place about humor, so hopefully it gave people some ideas. I would think it would be use for anybody who's creating content out there to consider doing, gun jokes or gun, I don't know, there's got to be plenty of gun jokes, or make up some gun jokes, or maybe do a contest where you ask people for their gun jokes or something, but to get some, to focus on humor once in a while. I mean, we get serious a lot of times, especially when we have to. I guess it was interesting to focus on it. Anybody have anything to chat about before we head out?
No, sir. I think we've all covered it pretty good.
Since we got Woody, I'm going to go back to Matt's show. Never Enough Ammo was on earlier. He does his nerd chat. And one of his things is he'll either do like some kind of a bracket or a top 10 list where we all contribute to, big list of stuff. So tonight's top 10 list was best TV shows of all time. And I didn't prep for it, so I was just going through and looking at stuff. And what I picked for my number one show has nothing to do with guns or anything else, really. Other than I thought it was awesome. It was one of the things that I found most interesting from school when I was in school. And that's a show called Connections by James Burke. Woods, have you ever heard of that one? Have we talked about that one before?
I vaguely remember it, but I don't think we've talked about it before.
How do you remember the show? Has anybody else heard of Connections by James Burke?
Nope, never heard of it, G.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you guys that might have or have heard of it, how would you describe the show?
A British, like a British Carl Sagan type guy. Like, it wasn't all about astronomy and stuff, but it was like a British Carl Sagan telling you about, gosh, like everything. I don't know. Like, I can't even.
That's a great way to describe it, though.
Yeah, like that guy would just tell you about everything. I mean, everything from like stuff happening inside your body to like, why does a tree do this, to like, and it would just like jump from like thing to thing, and it would kind of almost go full circle. Like, that guy was great.
But it was called Connections because it was really about the interconnectivity of it all and to give you perspective and like awareness. How would you describe it, though?
Oh God, it's been what, 30 years?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with him. I remember it being a lot of science.
Okay, so it's called Connections, and James Burke's claim to fame, I think, ever since then, has been this like showing the interrelationships between things. I was just watching after Matt brought up the subject for the show. I was trying to think, what show would I think of has the most value? Isn't just interesting to watch, or what would I? Or I was stuck on a desert island, or if I had to go on a long trip or something, what would I appreciate watching over and over? What would have use? What would I want to give to a kid or something, And that's where I was thinking of all the stuff that was significant or whatever. And he's done another one called The Day the Universe Changed. Thanks, Enrique, because that's another awesome series. But anyway, so that's where I started thinking about that. And even though it was never going to get voted on Matt's show, I just brought it up because if someone hasn't seen this before, I think it still holds. It's old or whatever. It's from the 80s or something. but the information is valid. It's not like into such detail that, you know, I mean, it's history. It's history, so it holds up. But the neat thing is how like the you know, how the printing press, you know, was created a need for inexpensive paper, and the Black Plague was going on, and then, you know, how linen and you know, like how, you know, there's just how all these different things, like that are saying, like interconnect, and they seem all random, but they, you know, it kind of puts in perspective how they are all building blocks, they're all stepstones to the next thing, and how, you know, this couldn't have happened without this. And it's just really, really interesting. So I just thought I'd end the show with that. Again, if you've got kids out there that are, you know, consuming content, this, I think, is some valuable content. Or if you're just looking for something interesting to watch or listen to, it's Connections. It's like hour episodes, and there might be like 10 of the original series, and then maybe another 10 or something of the day the universe changed.
Well, thanks for the tip, G. I'm going to totally use that in my classroom. It's a great idea.
Oh, I mean, I remember it was probably like 5th or 6th grade. So I was still in little kid school. And I remember a teacher, can't remember the class, but setting up the VCR and setting us down. And we're all like, okay, we're going to watch a TV show or whatever, watch a movie. And boom, it just opened my head. And then from then on, I was like way more inquisitive, way more interested in stuff, because I don't know, it gives you such an experience of like, not just looking at facts, but like how that matters to anything else. Just super interesting. So great. So thanks for the show, everybody. I think we brought in or had some interesting stuff to talk about. Tomorrow is 2A Tuesday. We'll be doing a 2A workshop in the afternoon. Anybody's got questions or wants to share some skills that they've got, anything from cameras and cell phones, anything with a keyboard, a mic, or a camera, I guess, to software and platforms, to networking and making money, to most effective ways to communicate. All that stuff is skills that we all can learn from each other and practice and hone, so that we're more effective individuals for the fight for liberty. Thanks for watching.